it's live, and welcome to today's stream. We are going to cover the World Chess Championship 2024 Ding versus Gukesh. And what promise did I make myself or do to myself? It is I, instead of only watching recaps from other people or just following their streams, I'd like to think for myself, like exactly what Andras Toth, the author of this course, is saying here. Don't just watch the World Championship, learn everything you can from it. So he basically picks certain positions that he thinks are interesting and have value for learning. And then he gives it as a puzzle before we go to the through the video recap. And that's what makes it so super special for me. It's like really good to get into the games and understand what's happening. In most recaps, it's just too fast for me. They just go move this, move that, moves this, and then I go, oh, what? And it's of course my job to pause the video then, but this here is way better, I think. Yeah, so I think everything's been said about the World Championship. We all know what's going on. This is a free course on Chessable, and the good thing is tactics and strategic problems to solve. Train your skills from games at the very highest level, and that's what we are going to do. So before we start the game 4, we need to do the review from the games before. It's the MoveTrainer by Chessable. So once you solved some puzzles, it will represent the puzzles to you, but in a certain order. So if you got something wrong, it will be given a lot more than the puzzles that you got right. And that way you learn way faster. So with that, we just start, and I click on the review, of course. Okay. Yes. Here we have the review, and clicking on the review, you guys can see everything pretty well, I think. That's good. And we just start. White accepts the challenge. How would black proceed? So that was, I believe, as if you haven't seen this before, it's hard for you to find it right away. But as I was doing this like in the first run through and then in the reviews already, I know this is the move. Yes. And now it is this one. No, that's incorrect. No, first take. Ugh, yikes, I was too fast. Okay, so take. Now here. Also not. I need to concentrate here. Okay, so let's go. And then we get to the checkmate here. Okay. This was just not that well from my side. So we jump to the next variation here, and white now has 2 pawns hanging. And here we have this one. And instead of taking, it was... I think a very strange move to me with the knight to g5. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. Was it or wasn't it? Incorrect too. The thread is n f5. Yes, I need to remember that. Okay, I got all this wrong last time too. Couldn't remember it this time. So maybe I also need to take more time, I think, just to play cool, because you guys are watching, but this doesn't work, of course. So now the queen move. Yes, and now it is taking the pawn. And we are good. Next variation. Now we need to get him into the checkmate position. It is bringing up the knight. And now he has the e6 square to escape to. So we need an in-between move. And that is the pawn. And now we can bring in the knight. And checkmate. Okay, nice. Very good. That was all from game 2. And now we are going to game number 3. That was the last one. What should we do now? And this is very interesting because I did this when I was very tired and I noticed I have no clue what I did. I went through the whole thing, read everything, but I'm not, now I have the understanding. Yes, it was now it's all there. Okay. I think it was taking to get rid of the bishop pair. Yes. And now e4, I think. No, incorrect. E3. E3 protecting everything instead. It was too aggressive. Yes. And now comes this move. Alternative. So it was taking right away. Yes, taking right away. That's where Andreas said, this is an obvious move. And I was like, nope, I got it wrong. So it was not obvious to me. So next variation. We have 3 more to go before we go to game 4. It is all the review part of the course. So it doesn't get forgotten or is not forgotten. And here Ding is in a sticky situation. Yes, so they said this is an engine move, but Ding found it. Correct. And now I can just attack the bishop and it's good. Okay. Now 2 more reviews puzzles. And here I think the escape square for the bishop is f5. And on f5, what do we do? How can we prevent that? I think it was e4. Just to not let the bishop escape. Yes. And now taking here. Yes. And now I can just is the rook move too fast, c1? I knew that the knight on d4 will take. And now there was another move to force it away, and that was this one here. No, it was not. Yeah. Too bad. Okay. Now I can take and take the bishop. And again, not. So it was move order. Mm. Okay, and now final variation. And the final variation here is white to play. What was it? That was a difficult one. And I think it was rook d2. Incorrect. Attacking the rook first, yes. And now I can take the rook with the rook. Or was there something else? Then I lose the bishop. No, this was, yes, it was taking the rook with the knight. But then he takes, and then I take, well, it's so fine. Again, incorrect. The in-between move. Yes, I forgot that. It's so amazing. I did this 2 days ago and everything was forgotten. So that's why the MoveTrainer by Chessable is so nice. Okay, in the next run through, these will be presented as I got them wrong, and I will hopefully get them right this time. Yes, true. Okay, and now was correct. All right. Okay, final one, I think. Challenging autograph. Okay. Amazing. It's all forgotten. Mm. Yes, it was first threatening the rook with the bishop here. And now it was a rook move, bishop move. Correct. And now we have the... I think it was taking with the bishop. And that's the one that I didn't get right in the last time. So again, we have to think here. Okay, what happens? I take with the bishop, he takes with the pawn. Ah, yes, of course, the rook is attacked, so he cannot take with the pawn. Correct. Now taking the rook. Ah, in-between move. Always the in-between move with a check. Did you notice in the game, in the position early on, I also forgot the in-between move. Need to remember that. Yes, of course. Okay. So way better. Okay. So here we have two more. This is from game number 1. And we need 2. If I remember correctly, it was taking something and leave something hanging. how did I do this? Yes, it was this. And for me, this would have been a move I would have never found myself. Yes, it's correct. Now, instead of protecting the knight, it is just here. And now, instead of protecting the bishop, it is taking the knight and now taking with the rook. Yes, finally. Okay. So, final position before we go into game number 4, and where I have to start thinking as I see them for the first time. Okay, black to play, and here we have to get ready for that mating net, and that is the knight move to d4. Correct? And now it is check on e7. There's only one move for the king, so here. And then I can just take with the rook and then checkmate with the bishop on f3, I think. Dum, dum, and dum. Lovely mate. Okay, very good. Nice. Then, as you see, we did game 1, game 2, and here I need to still check the position. That was the full game. Continue, so I get it ticked off, and now we are good for the next game. Alrighty. So I'm next for. I need to go to the next chapter. I need to click on learn, and we are good. It's game number 4. Now the fun starts. For me, it's a brain frying thing, but that's what we're here for, of course. So we just go and find out. So black prepares for the a5, a6 push by covering c6. How should we respond? Black prepares for the a5, a5, a6 push by covering c6. How should we respond? White to play. Queen a4 might be an option. b5 maybe. I don't know. So maybe b5, maybe queen a4. If I play a6, he probably plays b6. Nothing won. So if I play b5, he might respond with c5. In that case, I could just retreat with the knight to f3. Then the knight from c3 to b5. Oh, well, there's still the bishop, so super difficult. And here again, if I get one move right out of the positions that we get, I'm usually happy. Yeah. And I take the time to think. That's why I'm doing this. Okay, so please don't hesitate to write in chat if you have an idea. Hmm. What is my worst piece here? Hmm. The rook on f1 is not doing much. Yeah, I would go b5 probably. Yeah, I'm just going b5 and we see what happens. It is incorrect, and the correct move was funny. I was thinking of this at the beginning and said it will be just getting us a b6 move, and we'll see if that was the coming move. Yes. Okay, and now queen a4. I don't know. I don't see a tactic. These are brain teasers. No wonder that it's World Championship and I'm on the chess baby level, as my coach says. Chess baby. b5 now doesn't make sense. He would just push the pawn again to c5. If that happens, I don't see a way to get through. I imagine time is ticking down and I need to make a move. Well, if I push the b5 pawn and he goes to c5, then he has a very weak d5 pawn. Only protected by the knight. I have a double attack already on it, but my knight on d4 is attacked. Oh. I need to bring this out of the way. Like again f3. And then he probably comes with queen d6. So nothing won. But still I don't know what else to do. Yep. So it's b5. Let's see. Anybody in chat? No? Okay. If you have ideas, let me know. Oh, it was correct. Lovely. I got one correct. Yes. Okay. And now I could bring in the knight, forking the pawn and the queen. I think this is a good move, and I do it without hesitation. It is correct. Let's read the text. Okay, so a4 was played. This wing thrust introduces an interesting and notable strategic idea for white. Queen e7, and now comes a5 exclamation mark, good move. This is it. White will either manage to break up black's pawn chain or fix the entire wing on the light squares. Rook a c8. Black prepares for the a5 e6 push by covering c6. How should we respond? We didn't find a6. We went for b6 and b5 instead. Of course, this was our plan. And here he says, of course. Not obvious to me, I didn't find it. Okay, b6. And how should we complete our queenside aggression? This time I found b5, but I didn't really know why. Until I saw what happened here, I didn't see it in my visualization that now knight c6 is free. Okay, and white wins material. Good. Okay, so that was the first variation. And now we are going to the next one. If I take a look here at just my second monitor where I see the chat. And yeah, let's go. So, poses an interesting problem to which black has a very nice solution. How would you play black to play? So guys in chat, think with me. How would you play? We are black. Sorry, it's late again. So, we are Gukesh, and Gukesh needs to find a solution. My knight is attacked, and usually he has to go out of the way. So where to? First, take a look at the moves that I won't play. It is g4, bishop takes, f3, bishop takes, d3, bishop takes, c4, bishop takes. I retake, he takes, got the pawn. Okay, so these are all bad moves. Then d7 blocks my queen, but still have two defenders for d5, so that is an option. And knight to g6. Doesn't do anything and blocks my bishop, so I think the best move here would be knight to d7. But the question is, can we attack something from our side? I don't see anything. but it should be a very nice solution. So what can be the nice solution here? Okay, so my knight to e4 threatens the fork on d2. So basically, I think he will take. I retake with my pawn, and he takes my knight, and it's gone. So that is not an option. I could also go g4 because it is protected by my f6 knight. But if then I get attacked with h3, I have to go away and there's no space to go. I go back and I'm taken. So that is not a good idea here. So what to do? Can I still attack with the pawn? So let's go. I go pawn c5. Take, take, take. I don't know it. I have no clue, and that's. Paul says, Selamat pagi, teman teman. Selamat pagi. That is Indonesian and means guten Tag, good day, hello. So Selamat pagi. And I can say terima kasih. So, but still I don't know. So Paul, if you know something, then please go ahead. I really don't see anything. I simply don't know. So what I would play here is knight d7, but I don't see what would be the very nice solution. It's just a normal solution. Nothing happens, basically. Don't know. It's probably something like c5, but I'm still going for the solution is incorrect. And I thought about this too, but he just takes. I take, he takes with the queen, and we're done. So take. Nothing. I don't get it. Tricky move to find which required good tactical vision. I have no good tactical vision, that is for sure. Okay, so what's needed here? I think he takes our knight. I retake, and then he takes with the queen. And then there must be some kind of move that I just don't see. Okay, we just see what white played here. Next. We do this move, as I said, and now what should be nice? And I retake, was correct. Now this one, and now we can chase the queen. And then we have d3 free for our bishop, but he can just go somewhere else with the rook. So what's happening here? Is there something else that I'm not seeing? I don't see it. So my normal move here, at least I'm playing. So I'm Gukesh, I'm in the World Championship. What would I do? I would play... Wait. I could play c5. He has to go out of the way with the knight. And I could just... take the knight, the pawn on d2 with the queen. But if he goes with the knight to b5, he can attack my a7 pawn. So again, I don't see this super interesting clue here. I still play it. Let's go. It's incorrect. And this one was correct, as I said. Okay. This one now. Why? Because it's better for queen protection, I think, for king protection, and he also covers the yeah, he needs to get off the way, and now we have the bishop free. Oh, lovely. Amazing that they see this. Super amazing that they see this. Okay, so let's go and complete it. Crazy. Okay, let's go again. F4. And F3 was played in the game instead of F4. F4 should have been played, and f3 was played in the game. Okay, and f4 would have given us this interesting problem, to which black has a very nice solution. So I believe an f3 was the better move then. Now I get it. Okay, good. So, pose an interesting problem. We have nc4. Tricky move to find. And let's go again. Takes. I need to retake. Now queen c4 takes. Okay. But what I need to take, we saw that there is this. So, if I got this correct, hold on. Here I could have just moved the queen. Okay, but this is a theoretical thing. Queen c4 and then c5. Nice. Black is winning material by force because he has to go away, and then we have this one. Okay, understood. Okay. So, an interesting point in the game where we need to make a big call on what to take back with. What is your preferred way? We have three ways to take. It is the rook, the knight, and the king. So my first initial idea is take with the knight, so I still have the right to castle. That is my first initial idea here. Is he threatening anything? I don't think so. No, I just take with the knight. If you in chat have an idea, just let me know, but I take with the knight. And it was correct. Okay, and it takes f8, just as Gukesh did in the game. The reason is quite simple here. The temporary disruption of the piece harmony is a smaller concession than giving up the castling rights. Black will easily be able to steady the ship with knight b d7. We just go back and then castling. Yoo-hoo! Got it right, even with the correct argumentation behind it. Okay, we have the final variation for today before we go into the game review. Black challenges us with the same idea. What is the best way to meet it? Why is this the same idea? Okay, white to play. So what happened? To me, this looks super easy right away. I just take the knight, he takes with the pawn, I take with the queen, and I'm up a pawn. But that is too easy for World Championship level. Okay, so what can I do here? Everything else is protected pretty well. But if I do this, there's no but, it's all good. No. No. So if this happens, okay, let's go. I take with the bishop, he takes with the pawn. I take with the queen. Then I have a problem on d2 if my knight is gone. So he attacks with the pawn on c5. I take with the pawn on c5. He takes with the pawn on c5. And I can just take with the queen. So that's different to the other position here. Okay. I would go with my intuition here. And we see what is going to happen. Let's go. Is correct. Take was also correct. Ah, the rook is here, so I cannot take. Okay. Yeah, but I can defend the. The moment I go away with the knight, I have the bishop on d3, working my queen and rook. So, what can I do here? Here I think just attacking the defender of the c5. And that is played with the knight to b5. Let's see if this is correct. Oh, it was correct. Super nice. Yes, and now I can... I still have the problem. Now I can take the pawn. The pawn retakes. I take with my queen. And I still have the knight protected, so it's good. Okay, so I just take... Is that correct? Let's see. It's correct, yes. Lovely, I got it fully right. Super nice. Okay, so let's read everything. Bishop a6 would have introduced an interesting idea that improves on the f4 line. I have no clue what's happening with the f4 line here. Just because I played bishop a6. Okay, bishop a6 is played. It improves on the f4 line. That is over my head. I'm sorry. I cannot tell you why and what. Okay, so in the game, knight f3 was played. Here, okay. Okay. So after bishop a6, we have rook c7, f4. The same move that was wrong earlier is in fact best here, but what is the difference? Knight c4. Yes. Black challenges us with the same idea, and now we are here. Bishop takes, wrong in the previous line, perfectly fine here, because we find a way. Queen takes, c5. How can we avoid the loss of an exchange now? Knight c b5. This is it. A few moves down the track, we recap the best, we reap the results of the inserted ba6 moves. Okay, so rook d7, bishop c5, and white is up a pawn with a better position. Yes, nice, I got it. Lovely. Okay, so then we just click on the next variation. This is the full game, and as I don't like to be surprised, I just click on the video here and I just put in headphones now put in headphones now so you don't hear everything double. Okay, so we just played the video now, and let's see.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our recap videos and analysis of the World Championship match games. Today was round 4 with Ding Liren behind the white pieces and Gukesh with the black ones. Today is a unique video because I am joined by chess coaching extraordinaire Jakob Ogord and also, of course, a book publisher. Welcome and thanks for joining me for today's video.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything that I forgot to mention about you that our lovely viewers need to know?
Runner-up, sort of, for Sexiest Man Alive 1999.
Fair enough. And of course, Grandmaster as well. Radio. So today's opening was the I don't know what you are doing opening. What would you call it, sir?
Well, I was thinking for myself, I would call it a reverse London, which sounds like it sounds like, I don't know, someone pulling out the wrong tooth. But I talked to a good friend called ChatGPT. I suggested the Reti Larsen hybrid.
Very clever. Knight f3 being the Reti, b3 being the Larsen, the rest of them the hybrid. Fair enough. However, on a more serious note, if we talk about the preparation mindset going into the game, what do you think Ding had in mind when he cooked this bishop e2 followed by bishop a3 idea, which by the way by no means is new, but still looks a little bit on the offsides of things?
Well, I think the considerations from the Ding camp in general is that they're probably behind in deep preparation. And we saw this also both in round 1 and round 3, that there is some dangers there. And they're hoping to just play chess. And therefore, okay, if nothing really happens in the games now that the level, it's not a big risk because everyone, me included, considers Gukesh the favorite. So the longer we go to watch something like a rapid playoff, the more we're into the result is arbitrary. And if your shot is less than 50%, random sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. And indeed, I think that this whole opening sort of lent itself to a deep strategic level where the evaluation bar is perhaps not as important as the understanding of the position. But I guess it's safe to say that on 2700 level and above, chess understanding is pretty high. Now, there was a bit of a dilemma here in terms of retaking on f8. I think we might want to spend a word or two on that. Would you consider here an outlandish idea such as taking back with the rook, obviously surrendering castling rights, but keeping in mind that black may be able to castle queenside, or that is completely off the cards?
Well, I can tell you what my intuition was. Sort of my bullet move with my hand was king takes.
Right.
A rook takes I wouldn't consider because king is in queen side, where I don't think it will have a happy life. But I did think about king takes just for a brief moment because I'm very dynamic. I don't like wasting time. Don't wasting tempos. But it actually makes very little sense strategically because
it's very interesting here because that is the position that we got earlier on and that they're thinking about this. So I got it right as a chess baby right away. Just take with the knight and go back with the knight so you still have the castling rights. And what I also find very interesting is that he just said tempos. And there really is no tempos. It is tempo is singular and tempi is plural. There's also no tempis. Yeah, so it's either tempo or tempi, but never tempos or tempis. Just my 2 cents. Okay, let's take a further look.
The king has to go to h7 if you try to walk it around.
Yep.
And that is the bishop square. Then you can be hit by knight h4. And so that doesn't make sense. So you'd have to play king e7, rook e8, king f8, and you're actually spending a lot of tempos rather than just knight takes and return the knight.
Yeah, so actually the funny thing is that mathematically speaking, knight takes is the least expensive move.
It's the most efficient, yeah.
Yeah, because in a move later we are back and then we can castle on move 3. Whereas if we took with the king, then we would have two more. Then the rook still is at home, and the bishop has nowhere to go back to.
And the king shouldn't go there; it should go to
exactly.
e7.
Yeah.
But also I want to say another thing about that with time. So here in this position, the white position is totally without weaknesses. The idea that there would be some kind of quick attack from black is not realistic. On the other hand, white is packed down in the first 3 rows and is not dangerous. So time for defensive purposes is not a problem for black.
Lovely. By the way, fun fact for our lovely viewers and followers as well as for you, in case you didn't know this, I read it, I saw it on Twitter that in game 3, none of Gukesh's pieces crossed the 4th rank at any given point.
I saw something else. I saw a meme of the b7 pawn. Until today, it had not moved in any of the games.
Wow, that's interesting.
So, you know, from Narcos, waiting around meme.
Indeed. So the b7 pawn hasn't had a say. Well, today we are going to take care of that too. So after c4, knight d7, I would like to talk a little bit about the structure, because if I complete this pawn structure now with the moves d4 and then c6, which of course did not happen, but I think it's a very instructive moment to reflect on this, then we would have a textbook Carlsbad structure, where obviously white very often wants to play b4, b5, and kick off the well-known minority attack, and black usually tries to chuck a piece on e4 and then do things on the king side. What would you say, Jakob, why they did not opt for this? I claim to know the answer, but I would like your chess coach extraordinary intake on this.
So there's 2 reasons for that.
Yeah.
One is that compared to the normal Carlsbad structure out of the Queen's Gambit, black has had a really successful early and quick development, which sort of seems paradoxical compared to what we've done. But like b3 and bishop a3, there's a lot of moves here spent on exchanging bishop. And in theory, if we have this structure, if you put the pawns on d4.
Yep.
So in theory, and let's put in b4 as well, just for the principle here. Here we see that all the white pawns are on the dark squares, which in theory makes the bishop on e2 a good bishop,
Indeed.
While black's main pawn structure is b7, c6, d5, which makes the bishop on f5.
Sorry, I'm struggling.
I also good at coloring in. That in theory is a bad bishop. But if you look at the position, you can see that here, white's big hope for this bishop is to put it on d3 and exchange it for the black bishop. Because reality is a bishop that is playing together with a pawn structure is not a bad bishop, while this is sort of going a little bit beyond a silly understanding of these things. You always have to understand these kind of ideas, conceptual ideas, through examples. So here we see an example where the bad bishop is not bad and the good bishop is not good. And for this reason, Ding played very naturally, playing for the minority attack. But here, the other thing is, after the move d4, now I don't know how to kick in a collar here. No, let's put in the move d4. Can you make me a collar here? I don't know how to do it.
Just right click.
Right click. There you go. Thank you. We can see my beginner tendencies here. This square now is a great outpost for white, but in the game,
for black, you meant?
Yeah, for black. Thank you. In the
game,
white starts the minority attack without making the d4 move concession of the e4 square. So later on, he can play d3 and occupy or control the square. And in that way, he's actually still playing for the minority attack. And then in a very flexible way, because black hasn't committed to various things yet, but without giving away the e4 square.
Yeah, that is a lovely positional touch. You know, I was for a very short period of time in my life coached by Hungarian champion legend Grandmaster István Chom, who was known for his incredibly fine understanding of positional play, and he would very often get to positions like this from his beloved English, and he would almost always play d3 first, kick off the minority attack, and play d4 at the most opportune moment. Now
I'm old enough to have played him.
Yes.
10-move draw, of course. Like everyone else.
Yeah. He was generous at times, indeed. Not suggesting that he would have beaten you.
Oh, no, of course you would.
He offered me a draw too, because of our good nexus and connections. But yeah, that's it. Okay, knight d4. So now no pawn to d4. here you showed me a very, very exciting idea that I would like to partly display, and you can explain it to us. So queen b3, and here we analyzed this actually with Jakob while the game was on, and I was trying to hold my own with black by recommending a natural move like rook e8. Was not played in the game, and Jakob told me something that really means to me quite a bit, and that is that in order to understand knight d4, we need to then look into, hey, what's going on, what white is trying to do, and you came up here with a very clever plan. So I would hand it to you and I will play it out.
Yeah, so my approach to this here is I actually brought a chess set to this this session here where we're going through the game, because when you look at the end, that's the first line, but it doesn't give us anything that's close to human thinking. And I wanted to try to think as a human, why they're doing what they're doing. More than actually finding out what is the best move, I want to understand what they're thinking. That's more interesting for me. And if you play knight d4, well, the knight sort of looks a bit strange there. The bishop looks very natural. Could have gone to g6, by the way, which my hand also doesn't want to do, but the engine wants to do. And it's one of those things which are, for me, very interesting, but maybe too esoteric for this session. But here we're thinking, okay, what is rook e8 seems such a natural move. The hand wants to make it. What is it that white's intention with knight d4? Because once we understand that, we can also understand black's move. Because
exactly.
Because Gukesh, of course, will understand what we are able to understand. So at this point here, I'm thinking, okay, knight d4. Yes, it's not because he's hoping to take the bishop. The bishop will move. But then what follows after is he sort of wants to make c6 into a weakness. It is not to play b4, b5, because black will play c5. And then the knight is just silly there. And actually here, black is already much better. So how do we make c6 a weakness? We do it by playing a4, a5.
So we played a4, and then I tried to hold my own with queen e7.
Yeah, and then a5. And now if black plays a6, then I want to very slowly play knight a4, rook c1. You can just do this with arrows. Rook c1, knight to c5, and then we make b7 a weakness.
Yes, so actually I'm going to make it different colors, and I will make the weakness red. So here we can see a counter example to what we discussed before, because now the black pawn structure is actually really, really bad. And whilst our bishop is still not a rock star, but it's clear to see that we are going to find the target. Here likely, we looked at a line, I think, with rook d8, rook c1. I tried to chuck a knight in here, but perhaps even more exciting.
I think you played knight e4, actually.
Yeah, that's right. And then
I played the rook, something. I put the knight on c5 quite quickly. And, we did various things here.
Yeah, so
something like this.
This is the structure I wanted to demonstrate. So here we have a beautiful target, a backward pawn on b7, restricted by the pawns respectively on a5 and c5. The knight on d4 is still a monster. So this is a beautiful way to demonstrate what might have gone through Ding's head when he played knight d4 back here.
He was not hoping for his opponent to be so generous. But this is sort of the strategic ideas underlying. This is the strategic knowledge that both players have in this position. And then there's sort of trying to react to it in various ways. And we saw this in both round 1 and round 3, where strategically didn't really happen anything that the players did not understand. But in all the details about the small maneuvers and so on, one of them got lost in each of the games, and this is where games at this level often are decided.
Right. Let me show you, our viewers, the star variation. So if we allow a6 by playing rook a8, which I did try in our analysis, there comes the really, really heavy hitting variation with a6 undermining the pawn chain at the core of the pawn chain. And once b6 is pushed, we go after now the other pawn on c6 with b5. And if I push that too, in order to keep the pawn structure intact, there comes knight c6 with a fork on the queen on e7 and the pawn on a7. Black cannot avoid material loss. And white is cruising toward victory. I think this is a beautiful demonstration of what knight d4 in combination with the a4, a5 idea can accomplish if black is a little bit too careless. Anyway, back to the game where we saw instead knight e5, quite a healthy move, I guess. a4.
I would like to add that knight e5. Of course, Gukesh understands everything we just said. He understands everything, and it's not like Ding is expecting to be given such a free pass to do things.
Mm-hmm.
But he's, playing natural moves, trying to play strategic ideas, and then sees what the opponent does, and then he will react to it. So Gukesh here, as he has a tendency to do, tries to solve the problems in a very, very concrete way. And knight e5 is a very much a move based on calculation, more than general principles of bringing in the pieces and playing normal looking moves. But he has a very concrete point, and we'll see this in a few moves.
Yeah, we already discussed this in round 1, 2, 3 that Gukesh's ultimate response to everything is to calculate everything to death and find moves based on that. Less intuition, more calculation. Rook c8, a5, and I think this is a good point where we can talk about the subtleties of the position, because here seemingly f4 does cause a fair bit of headache to black because of the knight now needs to go, but knight c4.
So I would like to say, just
maybe
to go back,
yeah.
If we can just go back a moment here. I know.
Sure.
No, so here, this move b6 here, the weakening on the light squares on the queen side, for me, it's sort of like it rings a little bell.
Yeah, don't do it, right?
It just, I'm a very, very classically educated guy, or at least by myself. Like to sort of understand how pieces normally connect. And when the bishop is on h7, then I sort of want the pawns to work more together. It's very active. Black simply wants 5.
Indeed.
And then the whole thing becomes very concrete. This is not necessarily the best play. And I think, let's say that Gukesh was playing against Magnus. If he was playing a whole match with this kind of very concrete, always seeking concrete solution, rather than necessarily a symphonic solution, which when all the pieces are playing together and it becomes like almost like music, right?
Which is what Magnus does well.
Which is what Magnus does, which my big hero Giri does. Then we have I just think that he could be a little bit in trouble still. So I think because I have this point of view, I don't want to bore anyone with too much, but I think that Gukesh is world number 1, but I don't think he's the best player. That's a different thing. He just has the best results. And here, this is sort of where you worry as a Gukesh fan, which I am, a little bit about these kind of things. It's like a little bit too concrete. And you're worried, like, in the first round that he sort of can lose control of the harmony of the pieces. In the first game, if anyone wants to go look back, I sort of hated knight takes d4. Recapture when I saw it. And for me, it was like, why don't you take with the bishop? It was for me, it was the turning point of that game. But here we were analyzing, hands on actual pieces, f4.
Yes, and this actually immediately feeds into what I think Gukesh deserves the praise for, which is that concretely, this time works out beautifully for black, because now we have got knight c4, and after bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, comes a beautiful geometry c5, and it turns out that the knight is more or less glued to d4.
Now we need the arrow.
Yeah, because upon departure, bishop d3 is going to hit very hard. I will show you an example here. Bishop d3 securing the royal family, and this is now going to be an absolutely tragic outcome. Of course, taking on c5 first would have been slightly more accurate, but I wanted to demonstrate a point of how Gukesh calculated this line and how precisely he came to the correct conclusion.
I can see that you come from a country without a king. We normally don't consider the rook royal.
Fair enough. So no, we haven't had a king for a fair while. Having said that, an interesting addition here is that instead of Ding's move, which was knight f3, and let's be honest with ourselves, I think this
playing for draw.
It was a very lackluster move. Bishop a6 was the engine's recommendation, trying to throw the spanner in the works in the previous line with f4, and it turns out that the insertion of bishop a6, rook c7 is going to make a world of a difference in f4, because now after knight c4, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and c5, we can play knight c to b5, exposing the rook that is now awkwardly placed on c7, and potentially best for black is rook d7.
Here it becomes all this computerness. Maybe we just say that here we get into this very, very complete, concrete and wild thing, and people can sit with their own spacebar. Because reality here of it, which I think is much more important for understanding the match, is that Ding, he misses the chance for making life difficult for
Yes.
Black. And as a Gukesh fan, again, you know, although you want him to win in the most stylish way possible, it's most preferable if he just wins. That's
Exactly.
number one concern. And these kind of moments, if Ding actually wants to have a real chance of winning this match, I think he has to not let Gukesh get easily away with these things and just play for a draw. Because if you play for a draw when you have a little bit of chance, and the opponent doesn't, when he has a little bit of chance, you're defending the whole match.
Exactly.
And statistically, it is likely to go bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to be fair to everyone here, after basics rook c7 f4 instead of knight c4,
which is now a mistake.
Yeah. The ugly looking knight g6 bearing the bishop alive on h7 apparently holds equality, but
no, I wouldn't call it equality. This is again like
it's a game.
Well, when you're working with engines,
it's equal.
It's not equal. It's like stockfish holds.
Yes, exactly.
So this is like one of the main peeps I have. You know, main peeps. So in chess, an advantage means that you are giving the player problems to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Black here will have problems to solve. So the engine likes queen a3, which is a very harmonious move. Yep. You know, the bishop and knights are doing light squares, the queen and rooks are doing dark squares, and with the pawn. And okay, and then we'll see whatever Black plays, and anything can be played every move. And you could sit with top grandmasters and they wouldn't guess the next move because there's so many possibilities. But mainly, there's a little bit because there's still, you know, bishop can go back to e2, b5, maybe the knight comes to c6, maybe a7, b6, the pawn can be weak, and so on. It's more likely than thinking that Black will create a mating attack on the king side, which I don't see with the way the pieces are construed now. Like, most likely still be a draw, but if you want to win a match like this, you need to put pressure when you have the chance. And this here, I think, actually is quite a significant moment in the match. While I think for the game now, the game was twice as long as here, but the next we'll maybe do in like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, and really, after knight f3, I think our job is more or less done, because here came...
Yeah, the cleaners are taking over here.
Woo! Yeah, like they just mowed down the board. And
I think let's just enjoy how they managed to take everything.
How quickly the pieces come off, and I apologize for zipping through this, but basically, in a higher order sense, knight f3 was a draw up.
It was a drawing direction anyway.
Indeed. So from here on out, catastrophic things had to happen in order to not to make a draw for either color.
If you want to call it a draw offer, then it's an offer you can't refuse, because everything's just going to go.
Yeah, and everything did go. And in fact, they would have called it a day way sooner. But of course, they have got the 40 move rule, which was overwritten in the first draw of the match by repetition. And fittingly, they actually repeated here too. Jakob actually predicted this repetition around here, I think, if not sooner.
Somewhere around here.
Yeah, which
I think maybe here.
Shows beautiful foresight that here just check, and then king e3, and then we are going to repeat. You might wonder why the white king is not moving forward here, which is generally the direction you want to go to, but it doesn't really make a
rook f2 is still a draw,
huge difference. Rook d2, even rook d3, rook f3, yeah, multiple ways.
Whether white or black wins a pawn here doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I could remove this pawn entirely from the board and it would still be a draw, and that is exactly the outcome of the game. I think based on how the game went, it should be Gukesh who is happier with the outcome, because Ding simply failed to put any meaningful pressure on the challenger, at least in this game, in my opinion. And for that reason, yeah, I will be very curious to see what the next game brings.
I think we have a situation where when Gukesh is white, they're playing chess, and being white, let's say maybe it's only a 53% chance statistically, or maybe it's 55. It is sort of a statistics change here and there from time to time. But if you're only playing with white and you're just making draw with black, you get this extra little 5-6% chance, maybe as high as 10. I've seen it at times. In the match, you just, on top of also being probably the more effective player. I am not going to say that Gukesh has a deeper understanding than Ding or make any wild claims like that. But we know from results that he is very, very resourceful. He's very effective. He's very emotionally very stable. He's full control of all his faculties. And if you give him this further advantage, you can't keep doing it, because at some point, another white game is more likely to be decisive in white's favor than in black's, even if we were looking at entirely even opponents. So I think actually from the perspective of Ding's team, they need to reconsider this strategy. This isn't going to work. Even if it works, it doesn't mean it was a good strategy.
Yeah.
It's a bad strategy, but we all know that in sports, a bad strategy with a bit of luck can be a winning strategy. It doesn't make you a master strategist, though.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that that's exactly how Ding became a world champion, because I didn't like the way how his match went against Nepo. It felt like he was constantly trailing, yet he won. But repeating that again, I find this unlikely and unwise at the same time. So interesting times ahead.
It is one of the most difficult things to change a winning strategy. It really is very difficult. But anyway, I think a winning strategy for us is not to drag this out.
Indeed. So thank you very much for everyone watching this video. We are going to be back, or rather I will be back with the remainder of the
thank you.
Match. Of course, I will try to find some other esteemed guests, but it will be a challenge to find a replacement for coaching legend Jakob Ogor. Thank you again for joining me.
I think the bellboy will do better than I would. But of course, everyone should check out Andras' fantastic courses on chessable. And once you have watched them all, you are hereby given my permission to also check out my new course on conceptual rook endgames. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. See you in the next round. Bye.
That was a nice trailer at the end. So basically, thank you, Andreas, again for bringing a guest and showing us the game. And as everybody knows, game 5 was also drawn. The whole match is drawn. And yeah, to me, I'm still rooting for Ding. And as everybody said that Gukesh is such a high favorite, Ding is holding up great. And with a little bit of luck, he is going to make it. So yeah, we'll see in the coming days. And thank you for following again. Thank you for solving the problems, the puzzles with me. And see you hopefully tomorrow. Have a good night and bye-bye for now.